In this video, we're going to look at how we can solve more complex logical problems using nested ifs, and we're also going to introduce two other logical functions called and or. Zara has been asked to recalculate the late charges. The system has changed and we're now going to charge a different rate depending on the location. If it's Sydney, we're going to multiply the amount by the overdue days by the penalty rate. But if it's Melbourne, we're just going to charge the $5 flat rate. The problem is, we now actually have three possible outcomes. If it's not overdue, we're going to charge $0. If it is overdue, we're going to then have to decide if it's Sydney or Melbourne. The if on its own can only handle two possible outcomes. So the moment you have more outcomes, you need more ifs. This is called nesting ifs. So the way it's going to work is the first if is going to check if our invoice is overdue. If it's not, we're going to charge $0. We then still have two possibilities. So our second if is going to check if our location is Sydney. If it is, we're going to do the calculation. If it's not, we're going to do the flat rate. So let's see this in action. So we're going to start by clicking into O5 and typing equals, if, and tab. Now the first thing we're going to check is if we're overdue. So we're going to check if overdue is equal to nothing. In other words, it's not overdue. If this is the case, well, we're going to charge $0 late charge. So nice and easy. Now type a comma. We now have two more possibilities, so we're going to need another if. We're going to type our if and tab to open the brackets. Our logical test this time is going to check if our location is equal to Sydney. Then our comma. If it is, we're going to need to take our amount, multiply it by our overdue days, and multiply that by our penalty rate. Then type a comma. If it's not Sydney, there's only one more possibility. It must be Melbourne, and we're charging them the flat rate, which you may recall we have a named range for. Now we can close our bracket for our second if, and very important, close your bracket for your first if. If you now press enter, late charges all corrected. You can nest up to 64 ifs, but let's hope you'll never need to. There's one more potential limitation for the if. It can only process a single logical test, but sometimes we need to check multiple things. So in the next example, if the invoice is overdue and it is more than $500, Zara needs to take some action. But here there are two things we have to check. Now the functions that can help us with this are the and the or function. Both are designed to evaluate logical tests, and both of them can evaluate up to 255. The and is the fussy one. If all of the logical tests are true, the and will return true. If even one of them are false, it will return false. The or is a little bit more relaxed. As long as one of the logical tests is true, it will return true. Now for our example, we need the and. So we're going to click into P5 and type equals and open our brackets. The first logical test is going to be, is our invoice overdue? And we'll use our overdue days as time. So I'm going to check if overdue is greater than 0. Then type a comma. Our second logical test is going to check if our amount is greater than or equal to 500. This will also include amounts that are equal to 500. And then we're going to close our brackets and press enter. You'll see we have got a few trues where both conditions are met, but most of them are returning false. If we'd used the or, we would have found we got a lot more trues because just one of the conditions would need to be true. Now, the thing with the and the or is they only return true or false. And if that's what you want, that's great. But that doesn't look amazing. Zara would actually like to see the word action if it's true and nothing if it's false. So what we're going to do now is nest our and inside an if. So coming back to P5, we're going to double click, and just after the equals, we're going to slip an if in there. The logical test has already been done by our and. So we're just going to type a comma after that red bracket. If the and returns true, well, we need to take some action. If it doesn't, we can leave the cell empty, which is open quotes, close quotes. Now close your brackets for your if, press enter, and we can instantly see our actionable items. So just to recap, if you have more than 2 outcomes, you may need to look at using nested ifs. On the other hand, if you need to evaluate logical tests, you can use the and, the or a combination of the two.